Hello captains, welcome back to the TJ Pilot channel. Finally, after many weeks of not doing any videos, I am finally happy to report that I'm back up and running in the new sim, which is Prepare version 5. And on that note, there's quite a few things I'd like to mention here at this point. So if you're only interested in seeing the actual flying, then feel free to jump ahead a couple of minutes. For those of you who want to stick around, there's quite a few things that needs to be mentioned here. First of all, to get started, of course we are in the new sim, which is Prepare version 5, which has been released a couple of weeks ago, rather surprisingly, by Lockheed Martin. And at that point I decided to go straight for it, mainly because it's bringing a much better performance to the sim than compared to version 4. So I decided to go straight for it. And then at that point in time I noticed that my hardware is completely useless, or basically my graphic cards only. So the graphic card, my old one, was completely useless for version 5 since it only had 3 gigabytes of storage, of capacity. So I took the chance to also upgrade my hardware, so I now have an RTX 2070 Super, and along with the new mainboard and also new SSD, so quite a few new things. And then it also took a while for the add-ons to get ported over to version 5, and now we are in the PMDG 747, which is to my knowledge the first proper aircraft which has been released for version 5, and that's why we are flying the 747 today. It has now been released only, I think, 2 days ago, so in case there are any bugs we experience, then this might very well be due to the fact that this is a very new aircraft in a way. So yeah, that's being said on the aircraft. In terms of the sceneries, developers have been rather fast to get ported over to version 5. We are today at the LatinVFR Miami scenery, and we are going over to the PKSIM Bogota scenery, which I think we haven't had in the channel so far, but we have had this Miami scenery before. And also I should mention that the sim as it is set up right now, it's not on the exact same level as we had it over in version 4, meaning that there are still some add-ons which are not available yet. One of those is Ultimate Traffic Live. I believe they are actually doing a new version, Ultimate Traffic Live version 2, which has not been released yet, and I know there are ways of installing the old Ultimate Traffic into the sim, but I kind of don't want to do this, rather wait for the complete new version to be available, and thus we won't have any AI traffic today. GSX, as you can see, is working properly. That has been updated rather fast as well. And regarding the weather, that's worth to notice. We are using Active Sky, which has been released in a beta version also a couple of days ago, and I've installed this one, so we are in live weather, or rather historical weather, for the purpose of that flight. And what we have not opted into is the enhanced atmospherics. So I will quickly put up the performance figures up there. So you can see that now with the new graphics card, which is an 8 GB graphics card, of which 6.6 is available to the sim, we are currently using 4.4. Now if I were to enable the enhanced atmospherics, this would immediately jump up quite a bit, and there would be a high chance of running out of graphic card memory. So that's why I'm not using it, at least here in Miami. Maybe we can switch it on over at Bogota just to see the difference on how this looks. In my opinion, it's a great enhancement to the sim. I think that has really been needed, and it makes the surrounding air much more realistic in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to this one being properly released, and then hopefully using less of GPU memory. That would be great. In terms of performance, yes, I can agree to that the new version 5 is much better in terms of frames per second compared to version 4. Although right now it's not too high, but I am running at quite high settings, much higher settings than I used to in version 4. And I've also locked it to 40 FPS. There's no need to be too hard on the system right now. And also at heavier sceneries, well, this was one Miami and also over at Chicago, it's quite easy to get super high frames per second. So yeah, amazing performance upgrade, which is really great. And yeah, that being said, I'm looking over on a list. I've actually made myself a list of things I want to talk about before getting into the flight, but I believe that has been most of it. And yeah, with that, let's actually get started on our flight today. We are, well, I've mentioned that we are flying a 747 since it's pretty much the only aircraft available in version 5 right now. And finding passenger flight these days in the 747 is pretty much impossible. I think there's, yeah, maybe there's even none operated these days. So we are on a cargo flight. This is, however, not a special operations. It's a very regular cargo route operated by Martin Air Cargo. Today operated in this KLM livery, which they are running, I believe, once a week, going from Amsterdam to Miami, down to Bogota, and then back the same way. So that being said, we can start on the flight plan. So we are operating Martin Air 6161 on the 9th of May 2020 from Miami to Bogota in the 74 freighter. Actually, that's the extended range freighter version. In the registry today, Papa Hotel Charlie Kilo Charlie. Cost index 25, quite normal. Winds not too much, only 21 knots. We don't have to worry too much about that one. Departure time in Miami will be 18:45 Zulu, which translates into 2:45 p.m. local time, and then we get to Bogota sort of early evening. I'm not sure if it's going to be dark. Most likely it won't. So it will be a daylight flight. What else? Trip time 3 hours and 1 minute. Alternate MDE, I believe that's Medellin, not too sure. Block fuel of pretty much 45 tons, only a short flight for the 747, of course. Zero fuel weight, I've set this quite high to 260 tons, given that cargo flights these days should be rather highly utilized. And thus we have a takeoff weight of 304.7 tons. Not too heavy, of course, due to being a short flight. We will start off at flight level 350 and see where we want to be after that. And that's pretty much all on the flight plan. Cargo's being loaded, so we can go ahead and jump into the flight deck. So here we are. First of all, I should get the navs aligned, the IRSs. Quick note regarding the figures over here. I'm going to leave this open during the flight, also because I need to learn more about the sim, how it works, where it uses the GPU memory, and so on. And you can see that in the cockpit frames have come back a bit to about 30. Still, this compared to the old sim, I believe in the old sim with these kind of settings, I would have had 15 max. So yeah, there you can see a bit of difference. First of all, ARAC 2005, Navigraph has also updated the FMS manager, so we were able to update quite easily. Position, I would just pop the GPS position in there. Alright, and now this will take a bit of time. We can start down here with the fuel and payload. I've done that already, so zero fuel with 260.2 and fuel of 27.6%, almost 45 tons, so that's all set. And now, in order to start the ACARS, we need for the IRSs to align. I should have done this earlier, I'm just noticing. So I believe I will quickly wait until this has happened, and then I will get back to you in about 7 minutes. So here we are again. We can now go ahead with the ACARS and set the pre-flights. So we are going from Miami to Sierra Kilo Bravo Oscar. Time of departure, that was 18:45 if I'm not mistaken, and then time en route 3 hours. And airline ID for Martin Air is MP, and then the flight number will be MPH6161. Going in there, connect that. Perfect. So also one thing I should mention, I have been struggling a bit to get the displays look great. You can see if we zoom in here, that does not look totally crisp. And PMDG has announced that there are quite some changes to the way displays are shown. So I need to further mess around with the settings, but I couldn't to get it much better than this at this point in time. I hope this works fine for today's flight. Okay, so FMC entering the airports, Bravo Oscar, and then we can send the request. 1340 nautical miles, looking good, and this will take a couple of seconds now. And activate. Oh, I haven't loaded it, sorry. Load. Yes, okay, there we are. Route is loaded, I can activate that. In terms of departure, we will be departing out of runway 09, so we only have a short taxi, and the departure will be the EONS 2, and that's right there. Execute winds, yes, we can do that. Load winds. Now I haven't tried if the wind upload is working properly, but that looks good. Winds are entered. Okay, so this works. Seems to work rather well. In descent forecast, we can do that later. All right, and with that, over to the init page. 0 crew at 260. That's correct. I believe we need to confirm that. Reserves today of 10 tons exactly, and then cost index 25. Cruise was 350. And we can put the step climb to 2000, and that should work well for this flight. Thrust limit, of course, we are super light. I believe I will just go D-rate 20, and this gives us 102.3. That still seems to be quite a lot. Let's put selector temperature 45. Still 100, so still plenty, but this should work fine. Flaps, we can have a flap 10 departure today. And then we have speeds of 145, 155, and 165. Last one I can enter right here. 165, and initial heading for the departure is 09-2. And top altitude for this departure is 5,000. However, since there's definitely not going to be any traffic today, I will go straight to cruise, making things a bit easier. Alright, so we are all set on the FMC, double checking the fuel 16.8, looking good. I should now get the APU fired up. In the meantime, I have closed all the doors, so yeah, we are doing fine right now. And we can continue with the pre-flight checklist. So oxygen, Tested 100%. Flight instruments heading off 275, and altimeters of 3003 and 3003. Let's check. Parking brake is set and fuel control switches are cut off. Now for some reason I feel like it's a bit dark down here. Maybe that's due to the HDR settings, but I will leave it as it is for now. Don't want to mess too much with it. Okay, waiting for the APU to come online. There it is. So we can pop those on. And then we can ask GSX for a pushback. And then we can go to the ground connections and remove the wheel shocks, and that should also disconnect the ground power. Yeah. And we can put the packs on, fuel pumps, window heats. This goes to aux. And looking good. Now checking the fuel page. We might even need to switch the crossfeeds off. Yes, we do. So those go off as well. Okay, and we can continue with the before start checklist. Flight deck doors closed and locked. Passenger signs. Well, on a cargo flight, never know. Let's put them to on. MCP is set at V2 165, heading of 092 and altitude of 350. I don't know if VNAV. Takeoff speeds V1 of 145, VR 155, and V2 165. Zero pre-flight is completed. Trim is free at 0 units. Taxi and takeoff briefing. Actually, we haven't finished that. In terms of taxi, can have a quick look outside. Yes, tail needs to go to the right. So by the way, nice view on Miami skyline. We will fly right over it during departure. Taxi will be easy. Push back with the tail to the right, and then we just need to take a right turn here and taxi down there, and that's runway 09 already. In terms of departure, initial heading 092, and after we reach 520 feet, so quite early, we turn right, direct VOR Virginia Key, and then further on to the south without any restrictions there, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so I will release the parking brake, and beacons go on, and with that the before start checklist is completed. And also I need to put the clock time on. Also the clock seems to be a bit dark here. I remember it being more bright in the old one, but never mind. I do hope we have enough takeoff power, since 155 VR, that's actually quite a bit, so I hope we will manage, but runway is quite long at 13,000 feet. Alright, so we can get going on here. Packs go to off, and we will start engines 3 and 4. And put this to engine page. And this seems like it's an auto start. And yes, there we can see the engines firing up. Also, we have beautiful PBR effects. I believe all the PBR effects have once more been enhanced in the new sim. So overall the graphics should be looking even nicer than before. And GSX putting us more or less on the line. Well, that's fine.
Set parking brakes. Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
Okay, starters are already cut out, so we can start 2 and 1. And in the meantime, we can put the VORs on. Virginia Keys is dialed in. That's perfect. Traffic, although we don't need it. And then let's put the weather. Or actually, since there's no traffic, I don't need it on the display. VOR and terrain. So terrain will be quite interesting over at Bogota, of course. Quickly waiting for the engines to start up. Yeah, it's the first time we're flying to Bogota, so this will be quite interesting. It's a very high airport in terms of altitude, so let's see how the aircraft handles over there. And engines are, engines are looking good, so I can confirm that. Alright, and we can go ahead with the before taxi checklist. So anti-ice is off, certainly don't need that recall. Let me put those on first. And also APU can come off and PEX back on.
Unlocking gear.
Okay, now we can go ahead with the checklist. So anti-ice is off, recall is checked, auto brakes. Where are they? Wait, what? Where are the auto brakes? They're either there or down here, as far as I know. Ah, there they are. Okay, haven't seen that before. What else? Flight controls. Yeah, let's get an outside view. Alright, so full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, and rudder, full left, and full right, neutral. Flight controls are checked, and ground equipment is clear. Before taxi checklist is completed. Now we just need to set the flaps at 10. And we are all good to go. Taxi lights, and let's do it. So putting in just a little bit of power there, that should be enough. And then the T-cars, well, there's no traffic today, but anyway, wait, let's put it on. Weather is set to weather and turbulence, which is good. Weather on departure is looking fine. We have winds 11 knots at 87, so pretty much on the nose for departure, saving us about 10 knots of ground speed. Quite nice. Some traffic, okay. Also PMDG, they have updated the steering of the 747, well, the handling on the ground, and it's a bit weird, to be honest. I still need to get used to it. So if you're going too fast, which I just did, then you can't turn at all, and then at one point it just goes very fast. So also there I still need to mess around with these settings a bit to get used to it. And I'm just remembering we should set the takeoff trim 6.0, which is set already. Easy. Yes, so we are about to go on the first flight in the new sim. I'm very excited about that, and I'm very happy to be finally back up and flying. I think the last video is hard to say, but probably a month ago even, so quite a bit. So frames right now somewhere around 30. It's actually not too crazy, but considering that I have turned all these settings and also the overall texture resolution quite high, it's quite okay. And also taking into consideration that we are at a LatinVFR scenery, and in my opinion those are probably the most heavy sceneries I have installed. So Madrid even more than Miami, but you can imagine that at other sceneries, for example London Heathrow, frames would be much higher than this one. So all in all, we have a much better running sim than we had before. I think it's fair to say this. Okay, we can complete the before takeoff checklist already, which is flaps. They are set at 10. That's done. And since there will be no traffic, let's get all set up right now. Packs, yeah, we can easily turn 2 of them off in a cargo aircraft. And let's take the second entry onto the runway. Yeah, so now when I'm not going too fast, the turning works quite nicely. Okay, we can go straight ahead on the runway. Also, PMDG said they have updated the wing flags on the ground. Although right now I cannot really tell if it has changed compared to the earlier version. But let's believe them anyway. Alright, and I'm very much looking forward to this departure straight over the skyline of Miami. Okay, we are all lined up. We are good to go, so I will put the timer on and let's do it. First departure in the new sim on my channel, very excited about it. And let's hope we are in for a good flight today. So looking for 100.4, there we are. 80 knots. Yeah, that looks like we are having plenty of power. Quick look outside.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate.
V2. Positive rate of climb.
We are airborne. Gears coming up. Beautiful departure. Take a screenshot here. Okay, we are already way past 520, so I need to start the turn. A little bit bumpy here. Let's see if we can see the skyline somewhere down there. Yeah, there it's coming up. Beautiful stuff. Okay, flip 5. And I believe I will pop in the autopilot, then we can enjoy some of the views around. Okay, flaps 1. And also I can put the packs back on. Yes, now once we are off the ground, we are easily sticking to 40 FPS. So very good performance here. And flaps up. Gears coming off, and the after takeoff checklist, landing gears up and off, and flaps are up. After takeoff checklist is completed. Yeah, that's beautiful stuff, looking amazing. Also, actually I should mention that in Prepare version 5 we have new water, so that's how the water looks like now. To be brutally honest with you, I'm not too much a fan of it. I think that's not a lot better than it was before. But maybe that's also due to the settings. So, as I already mentioned, I still need to mess around quite a lot with the settings to get things look the way I want them to look. Anyhow, we have had a good departure so far. Now it's getting a bit bumpy here. And the cockpit is getting even darker. I think I quickly need to adjust my HDR settings. Yeah, so sorry, but I can't fix it right now. That's one of the things I need to look into later on. But this is definitely looking too dark. Over there where the sun is peeking through that's looking good, but all the rest is a bit dark in my opinion. And that's quite bumpy. This can go off, and also the outbounds. We need to adjust the heading, which is a bit of a struggle with these turbulences. Perfect. Okay guys, and with that I hope you have enjoyed this very first departure in the new sim. I will now switch over into music and view mode, and then we can enjoy some views of how the new sim looks, and then I will get back to you in about 3 hours or 2.5 hours maybe, when we get closer to Bogota. And then also we will look into if we can maybe switch the enhanced atmospherics on and see how it differs from this version. Hope to see you back in a couple of minutes. Enjoy! Hello guys, welcome back to the flight deck. We are already on to our approach into Bogota. And we are back early, just passing 29,000 feet. Reason is, of course, that the airport is super high at around 9,000 feet. So yeah, that's why we need to be back early. It is a very short descent into Bogota. For some reason, I've noticed that the terrain display seems a little bit weird here. I have double checked the settings, but maybe that's just one of those very small bugs that just needs some fixing. Now it's looking even weirder. Yeah, sorry about that. I can't fix it now. Also, unfortunately, we can't use the enhanced atmospherics since for whatever reason it does not work well with active sky. If I switch it on, then everything turns extremely foggy, and that's even up at cruising altitudes, so highly unrealistic. That's why we are going to leave it off for now, but I'm sure there will be some future flights where we can use it and see how it looks like. So now quickly adjusting the heading back. Well, let's talk about the arrival. So that's the chart. This looks very messy. I don't think I've ever seen such a messy chart before, but the approach itself is quite simple. So we are on the ISWAT 3 Echo arrival, coming in there at ISWAT at above 18,000. We have just passed that. I have dialed in 18,000. Next waypoint will be floaty, and then we will be at VOR Mariquita. And there we have to be below 19,000 and above 17,000. I hope the aircraft manages to go there. I will dial that down to 17,000. And then from Mariquita, we would actually, following the star, start on a big turn, circling around Bogota, so to say. But I looked at the real-world flight, and what it did after VOR Mariquita, it just went straight ahead towards the ILS, and this today will be ILS runway 13 right. We can double check the weather, but the last time I checked it, it looked pretty good. So there it is, winds at 160 at 9, so that's perfect, almost straight on the nose for landing. Temperatures 90 degrees. Few clouds at 2000. Now I'm not sure, that's probably 2000 above ground level, and perfect visibility. Everything looking very good, only the altimeters are very high. I have dialed that in down there, and I think in order to be spot on for the approach, I will already put this to the local one. Yeah. I need to double check, but this looks good, so we are higher than expected. That's why I want to set it earlier. Make sure to get there. Yeah, so then we will head towards VOR Bogota, which is sort of before the city, and then be on the last waypoint towards the ILS, initial heading of 134. I think I will already go ahead and dial this in here, 134. And then we will ideally intercept the glide slope at flight level, at altitude 10,000, and then it will only be 5 miles till we get to the touchdown zone. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Transition level would actually be flight level 190, but we have already set to local. In terms of a missed approach, we would climb on runway heading until 15.5 miles from VOR Bogota. We need to make sure that this is dialed in later on. And then turn right to VOR SOA, which makes sense since after the airport there would be these high mountains coming up. So we have a steep right-hand turn at speed maximum 185 knots until finishing the turn. And then we can climb all the way up to 14,000, and we will hold at VOR Ambalema. So yeah, basically the way it works is if we have a missed approach, we have to make a steep right-hand turn in order to not hit the mountains behind the airport. But as there is no traffic today, we should be fine. Now we are heading into the clouds. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it earlier. I have Active Sky installed, but not Active Sky Cloud Art. So the clouds we are seeing here are the default version 5 clouds, which in my opinion are not looking too bad after all. We can see some there. So that's quite decent cloud textures. And now we're heading to this beautiful landscape around Bogota. Sweet, very much looking forward to this approach. And now let's make sure to be at appropriate altitude levels. So at the Bogota VOR we want to be 12,000. I'm gonna go ahead and dial this in here. Alright. In terms of checklist, I finished the descent checklist earlier. I have set minimums at 220 radio, since Sparrow would be like 8,000 something, and I didn't want to dial it all the way up, to be honest with you, so I just set it radio 220. Auto brakes I have set at position 2, since we have a long runway available, and also we anyway want to go all the way to the end, so we don't have to do any hard braking there. VREF is 153 at flaps 30, and since winds are good we can add 5 knots, so 158. Yeah, 158 should work fine. And approach briefing, yeah, we have done that, that's completed. And approach checklist altimeters sorry, are set at 3032 and 3032, that's also done. And yeah, things are looking good. Now I believe that there's a chance that we can intercept the localizer quite early, since it's sort of running in this direction, and we might be able to intercept it before we get to Bogota. The downside of this would be that we don't have VNAV anymore, so maybe, yeah, I'm thinking of maybe just flying it this way. Probably makes it easier towards the end. Yeah, so we will stay on the planned track. And once we are on the ground, landing runway 13 right. As I mentioned, we can go all the way to the end, and then the cargo area is all the way back there at the airport. So we will set up GSX maybe when we get closer, or maybe when we are on the ground. And airport elevation, let's be correct now, is 8,360 feet. And this is auto set here, so we don't have to worry about it in the 747. So it's already automatically set here at 8,400. So now cabin altitude 8,250, which actually means we have to, or the aircraft will have to reduce the cabin pressure during descent. We don't get that quite often. Okay, we are already at flap up speed, which is interesting. Let's see what's dialed in here. So next waypoint will be ENVSOUND, and at ENVSOUND, well, there's no constraint. We want to be at 12,000 or above, but aircraft wants to be at 215. So once we get closer, we might want to put some flaps out to have the aircraft slow down. Also, in the meantime, we can check the performance again. So here you can see that once we have left Miami, the GPU memory dropped down quite a bit, so that's very comfortable. FPS are still not super high. I'm not quite sure why this is the case. I would expect it to be higher. It was super high during the cruise, but for whatever reason it has come down. And also during the cruise, I remembered I had dynamic lighting switched on as well. Being in Miami, this probably had a significant impact as well. And there's no use of dynamic lighting during the daytime. So without it, frames would have probably been higher back at Miami as well. But now it is still on, so yeah, I think now there's no need to adjust it. Seatbelts, I just remembered I haven't put them back on. Probably should. So regarding the scenery, it is the first time for me flying into this PKSIM Bogota scenery. During the last couple of weeks, with these ongoing stay-at-home sales, I kind of loaded myself with new sceneries, bought quite a lot, and then they switched over to prepare version 5. Now I hope that all of them, or at least most of them, get ported over, but it seems like it. I have the feeling that most developers will support version 5 for free, and that's a good thing. And we can enjoy some of the views down there. Beautiful stuff. I have to say I love the KLM colors on the 747, or on any aircraft really. And also during the COVID now they have reactivated, I think, 2 of their 747 mixed aircrafts. So maybe we'll have the last chance of flying a 747M. There won't most likely be another chance to do it in the future. And they're operating it to, I believe, mostly Shanghai and Beijing to fly in medical supplies. Or actually I'm not sure about the medical supplies, but to fly cargo. So yeah, maybe we'll do one of those in the future. This looks very good, I have to say. I have the ORBX mesh installed and also Open Landscape South America. Maybe we should fly into South America more often now. Just remember I should set the range rings, since especially with these altitudes here it's hard to judge where we are in terms of distance. No, that's not working. Let's try the airport code. Yeah, that's at least roughly the distance to the runway. But we also have it here, so still 20 miles out. Okay, now the final altitude where we want to intercept is 10,000, so I should make sure that's dialed in here to be on the safe side. Feels like for some reason frames have just come down a bit. I will monitor and see if I need to make any adjustments to the settings. Now this can happen as yeah, it's a new sim and all the settings work a tiny bit different compared to the old one, so sometimes it needs some extra adjustments. Okay, I think I will go flap 1 now, just to help the aircraft level out and slow down a bit. It's incredible to believe that we are still at 12,500 feet and the ground is so close. Double checking. My frames are down at 20. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it has to do with clouds, or with the fog rather. Now we are at 215 knots. Quickly checking what the next speed would be. 150. The 12 miles, so I will go flap 5. And we are just a touch below the glide slope, but we haven't intercepted the localizer yet, but we can arm that one. Also, I think I can put on the landing lights now. Okay, glide slope is captured. And now localizer. Usually it should be the other way around, but never mind. And 8 miles only, we are still a bit fast. Final speed should be 158. I will bring the gear down in order to help the aircraft slow down. We can also go flap 20 and flap 25. And arm the speed brakes. And flaps full and landing checklist. Speed brakes are armed, landing gears down, and flaps are 30. And I can now go manual flying, and it's my aircraft. And so quite interesting that the frames are coming down quite a bit now, but looking at the ground, maybe I've just set the texture resolution too high. And also this navigation display is quite annoying, to be honest. It looks super weird. Anyhow, let's focus on the landing now. First landing in the new sim. Hopefully it will be a good one.
Approaching minimums.
Looking good according to the puppies. Continue. A bit high, but that's okay.
30, 20, 10.
A little bit of floating, not too bad. Reverse. And for some reason, I don't think the auto brakes are working properly. So we need manual braking, idle forward. That was actually a full power reverse. And we've made it. Welcome to Bogota with a, let's say, decent landing. Not the best one, but was quite alright. Now let's get rid of this terrain, that's really annoying. Alright, and we are all the way at the end of the runway, but that's totally fine. We anyway want to go there. And slowing down for the last turn. And now I've almost killed it, but okay. Okay, the clean up. This one, now according to the charts, this should go to transponder after clearing the runway. What else? The landing lights, taxi lights, strobes, APU. And flight time of 2 hours 59, so 2 minutes faster than expected. And now I quickly need to set up GSX, and we are looking for parking echo. What do we have there? 11 or 12, something like that. 11, that's good. Should be, yeah, over there we can see it being loaded in. Perfect. Okay, so it will be a very short taxi only. In the meantime, viewers, flight directors. Have I forgotten anything for the cleanup? I hope not. Maybe speed brakes are still up. Yes, they are. Yeah, so ground textures are of course not at LatinVFR standards, but never mind, still okay. Let's add a bit of power there to get there in time. Yeah, so quite happy with the first flight in Prepare version 5. Let's hope that all the other aircraft are also soon be ported over to the new sim, and we can do some different kind of flights. Also, as the corona situation is still ongoing, I'm not sure if we can manage to do some scheduled flights or if there will be more of those special operations. I will see how it goes and what kind of flights are being operated. And in the meantime, I will also get more used to the settings in the new sim and try to make things run even smoother and even better looking if I can. And also I need to get used to this steering. Okay, I will quickly get an outside view for the parking. Now let's see if there's a 747 marking somewhere down there. Yeah, there it is. And it's the 4th from the front. Spot on, perfect. So, setting the parking brake, cutting the engines. APU is running, that's good. That goes on, those go to off, taxi lights go off, beacons go off. Fuel pumps go off. Window heats. PEX can stay on for the moment. And then we just need to set the ground connections and request the ground power clock time of 3 hours and 13. And there's the external power, so we can connect that. Put the APU off and the PEX off, and then we can request some deboarding. And then we will likely need to open the side cargo door, so I will put this one to off. And then we have power to open the doors. Open, open. Oh, that was wrong, sorry. After cargo, forward cargo, side cargo. There we go. Okay, now this can go back to standby. Alright, that's all the work required from us in the flight deck. And on that note, welcome once again to Bogota, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this first flight in Prepare version 5. Now the sim still needs some adjustments. Also, I hope there will be more add-ons coming soon to the sim. And then I hope we are in for a series of nice full flight videos and maybe some other stuff as well in the future. And with that, take care, stay healthy, and see you next time.